10 real-life kids with actual superpowers. Lucas the echolocator. Lucas Murray, who was born blind, learned to use his ears to see when he was just 5 years old. He does this by clicking his tongue against the roof of his mouth and then listening for echoes, which tell him of objects that are in his vicinity. This process, known as echolocation, is common among bats, dolphins, and some species of whale. It's almost unheard of in humans, although Lucas learned how from a man named Daniel Kitch. But Lucas mastered it in 3 days' time and uses it to get around independently. He's shown here with his mother, Sarah.
And then try the other one.
Aurelian the autobiographer. Memory loss can be devastating. But imagine losing the ability to forget. When Aurelian Heyman was 11 years old, that's precisely what happened, at least with regard to autobiographical events. Now an adult, he can describe any past moment from his life in incredible detail, from what he ate, to the temperature, to the music that was on the radio. In 2012, he was featured in a documentary titled, The Boy Who Can't Forget.
2008.
It's a Monday. I think of it as, it's almost like this is imaginary pen writing in events in a sort of mental calendar.
The Bionic Boy with the Super Dad. At just 10 days old, Saul Ryan suffered a blood clot that required his left arm to be amputated. When his parents learned there were no truly functional prosthetic options for him, his dad, Ben Ryan, set about designing what is essentially a bionic arm for Saul. Then he 3D printed it. Not only did it give Saul his superpowers, but it also makes him look incredibly high-tech cool. The musical genius. Czech pianist Luke Spondrasek gave his first public concert at the age of 4, placing him well within the definition of a prodigy, a child who demonstrates professional abilities before age 10. Prodigies are as rare as 1 in 10 million, and many struggle past childhood, but Luke's, now 32, has beaten the odds, making him even more of a rarity. The youngest professional magician. Daniel Rhodes, already a professional magician by the time he was 9, making him one of the youngest professional magicians in the world and the youngest in Great Britain. My love for magic began when I was just 6 years old when I was given a basic magic kit for Christmas, he says, and I've not stopped showcasing my tricks on people since.
Read the magic trick. Done.
10 out of 10.
Can you guess how I did it?
Magnets.
Absolutely. No. Read the magic trick. Name your favourite fruit.
Orange.
Orange? Watch. Orange.
What? That's a 7 out of 10.
But what if I could make the orange come to life?
10 out of 10.
Better.
The boy who survived being crushed alive. Domenico Bacon shouldn't even be alive. In 2007, when he was just 3 years old, he'd just been picked up from daycare when a 12-meter tree crashed down on him, crushing his skull and his legs. Yet Domenico not only survived without significant brain damage, but he also, inconceivably, learned how to walk again. The boy with the enormous IQ. Jacob Barnett was diagnosed with autism when he was 2, with his doctors predicting he'd never even be able to tie his own shoes. But the doctors were wrong. It turns out Jacob has an IQ of 170, which is 30 points higher than Albert Einstein's was. He finished grades 6 through 12 in less than a year, went to college at age 10, and became a published physicist by 13.
So direct quantization works just fine for this, and I can get different theories of quantum electrodynamics, not necessarily from doing this, but the problem with quantum mechanics is that it treats space and time on a different footing,
The girl with the mathematical superpowers. At age 10, math prodigy Ruth Lawrence became the youngest person to be accepted to Oxford University. There, she completed her degree in 2 years and scored the highest grades of any of her fellow students. Although child prodigies rarely become adult geniuses, Lawrence defies the odds. Now 47, she's a mathematician and an associate professor of mathematics at the Einstein Institute of Mathematics, Hebrew University of Jerusalem, as well as a researcher in knot theory and algebraic topology. Please like and subscribe to the Joey YouTube channel to be informed anytime we post another interesting video. Humans begin to experience hypothermia when their core body temperature sinks below 35 degrees Celsius, with death usually occurring below 21 degrees Celsius. But in late 2014, a Polish toddler defied these principles, inconceivably surviving a harrowing night outside in the freezing cold, during which his core body temperature plummeted to an inhuman 12 degrees Celsius. After a few days in an induced coma, Ada has emerged essentially unscathed. He's seen here as he recovers in the hospital with his parents.